You are listening to the Stop Binge Eating podcast with Kirsten Sarfty, episode number 221. Welcome to the Stop Binge Eating podcast. It's time for you to end your food obsession and begin feeling confident and in control around food. You are absolutely capable of eliminating binge eating from your life, and I'm going to show you how by giving you simple tools and insights that you can apply in your own life. I'm your host, Kirsten Sarfty. Now let's get to it. Hi, today on the podcast, I am talking with Lisa, a former client of mine who finished my Stop Binge Eating group program over 1 year ago. Since we finished, she's been continuing to kick butt and maintain her binge-free life using all the tools that she learned in the program, and I'm so excited for you to hear all about it. And not only is she going to share her story, which starts with her binging as a child, but she's also going to share lots of thoughts that she practices to this day that help her eat how she wants to be eating. And I think you're going to find her thoughts to be real useful for you too. So get ready to hear Lisa, whose story is so relatable, along with some fantastic words of wisdom. Here we go. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to have you here. And we're just going to start today by you telling us your story. Tell me about your eating, about your weight, about anything related to those, anything. Tell
All
us.
right. Well, yeah, I'm Lisa. I'm 42. I have been married to my husband for 17 years. We have two daughters. They are in 8th grade and 5th grade this year. And I have been out of your program now for over a year, still doing awesome. It was like the one thing I needed to really kick this habit to the curb. Gosh, I've been binging probably, I would say almost my whole life. I remember, I didn't think about it at the time, but like when I was 6 years old, even, I remember having, a candy binging episode that still sticks in my head. And so it was always there for me. And I never really realized that it had a name when I was binging. I just thought I liked food and I thought that I just ate it whenever it was there. And it was always there in my house. It was a constant friend and companion and support system and all of that. It wasn't until just a few years ago that I realized that I was really a binge eater and not just an eater, a lover of lots of food.
As you got into like teen years, early adulthood, was it the same all during that time, or was it different? The frequency, the amounts?
It was always a little bit different depending upon what was going on. I have a lot of anxiety, like social anxiety, especially in new things. And anytime I would go somewhere where there was food, I would gravitate toward the food because that was comfortable for me. So if I was at a party or a dinner or anything like that, even in teen years, adult years, I had food. I just had it with me because that was comfortable and it was a comfort for me. And I would just keep eating because things tasted good too. And not only because of the anxiety, but because food was pleasure for me. And I would eat and keep eating. And if I got new things, like if I went to the grocery store and I bought like a bunch of new things I wanted to try, I would come home and just like start eating all of them because I couldn't wait to try them. And so it's fluctuated a little bit throughout the years, but a lot of it is, due to that anxiety and that comfort reasons.
Do you think that it was a restriction thing at all for you, or was it just the anxiety and maybe other emotions, if there were any?
As I got older as an adult, and I started realizing that it was affecting my weight and things like that. I do think part of it was restriction. There were times when I would go on one diet or another, and I would decide that I wasn't going to eat that much that day because I had eaten a lot the day before, but then that always led me to binge later on too.
So, how did that affect you? Like, during all those years, why do you think it was a problem for you personally in your life? How was it negatively affecting you?
I would just turn to food and I wouldn't actually deal with what I was actually feeling. I would eat for every reason. So I tell people, I was like, I'm an emotional eater. I eat when I'm happy. I eat when I'm sad. I eat when I'm tired. I eat when, the sky is blue. It doesn't matter. I would eat for any reason. And I didn't realize how much it was affecting me personally, not dealing with the emotions and just trying to shove it all down with food, until I finally one day found a friend that was having the similar issues. And I was like, oh, this is not just a me thing. This is a thing. Like, there are people like me. I wonder if I can like find more people like me that we can support each other. And that kind of led me down a path, and then eventually led me to you.
Thank goodness. I'm so glad we met.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
So, were there things that your eating was holding you back from doing? Was it making you feel certain ways? What would you say for you?
I would say yes and no. I would go places and be excited that there was food there, and I would go places in social situations because there was going to be food. So I think that did like help some of my anxiety, knowing me like, well, at least I can always eat. If I don't talk to somebody, at least I'll get a meal out of it, or something like that. But it definitely, in kind of like my post-marriage, pre-kids years, it definitely affected my self-esteem a lot, because I had gained a bit of weight, and I didn't really realize how much weight that I had gained at that point, because I didn't weigh myself or anything. I just did my thing, and it was very eye-opening when I realized how much I had gained in those years that were that food. I didn't really know I was binging, but I didn't realize I was binging. I just eat. That affected me a lot. I didn't. Yeah,
How did that weight gain affect you?
I didn't see myself as gaining weight. It's just the funny part. Like, a lot of times people will say that, like, I look in the mirror and I saw who I wanted to see, and I didn't see what actually was happening until somebody else pointed it out to me. And then I was like, gosh, I wonder, why am I doing this to myself? It didn't occur to me that the amount of food I was eating maybe was too much for somebody, supposedly my size, because I was eating because I was bored. I was eating because I'm stressed. I'm a teacher. And so I would come home, from teaching at the end of the day and be stressed. And then I would just go straight to the kitchen and start eating. And then finally, I kind of did a turnaround with that. I started running and doing a bit more exercising. But then when you run a lot, I ran half marathons. That makes you really hungry. So that I'd be like, oh, I ran 6 miles today. I deserve to go to Dairy Queen, and that became a problem there too.
Yeah, we start justifying the eating because of the exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were you trying to do to stop binge eating?
First, I was stopping like emotional eating and realizing what that was. That was kind of my first step. As I mentioned earlier, that I had found a friend that was similar, and we had started this little group on Facebook, actually, that was several of us that had some of the similar issues. And so we would just talk to each other about it and recommend things that we had found. There was a couple of books that people had passed on. And so I realized I was an emotional eater, but I didn't really do a lot with it besides like realize it and then try to work through, why am I eating right now? Is it because I'm tired? Is it because I'm bored? Is it because I'm actually hungry or not? I also discovered that I didn't really let myself ever become hungry. I started to fear hunger as well because of the binging that I've had. And if I got too hungry, then I would really overeat after that. So I never let myself get hungry. I would just eat constantly throughout the day too.
Yeah, because you're making that association, hungry equals binge. Instead of
Definitely.
hungry is just my body requesting food.
Yes.
Yeah. Which now you know.
Now I know. That's like one of my favorite thoughts. My hunger is not an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah.
My hunger. I know there are other people whose hunger, yes, is an emergency, but my hunger is not. I ate a couple hours ago. I'm not going to die.
Yes. You're going to be okay. Your body's designed to go for some time without eating. It's okay.
I think it's like 3 days. I think you can go 3 days. I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, depending on so many different factors, maybe more, but
Yeah.
We're not selling people on not eating. We're just saying
No, no,
that
no. Eat the food. I love eating food.
eat the food.
I don't binge anymore, but I still love eating. I love food.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you say that you love food because so often I used to have this thought too. And so often people would be like, I love food too much. And it's like, I love food too. And Lisa loves food. And a lot of people love food without binging on it.
Yeah. I can just love food and eat less of it now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
So,
really one of those big moments for me. It was like, I asked you, I said, Kirsten, how do I just eat one cookie? And I was like, I just don't get it. I don't understand how people can eat one cookie. I was never that person. I couldn't have a package of cookies in my house because I would just keep eating them. And so you said, you were like, Lisa, you take a cookie, you eat the cookie, and you enjoy the heck out of that cookie, and then you stop. And I did it, and it worked. And it was like this like breakthrough moment for me. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I only ate one cookie. And I liked it, and I was satisfied.
and for those of you listening, there are other pieces to that as well. But that is the basics of it,
And I
right?
still think about that to this day. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat. If I want this, I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna enjoy the heck out of it, and then I'm done. And I
Yeah.
don't have to eat more.
Yeah. And why don't you have to eat more?
If I'm not hungry, I don't have to eat. I don't have to eat more. And there's things that taste delicious, and your brain's gonna want more because that's what they're just. It's designed to do. The food people want you to eat more of the things, and your brain's gonna say, eat another cookie. It was delicious. Eat another cookie. But if you don't really physically need the cookie or whatever the food is that you happen to be eating, you can sit through that. It was sitting through urges. That was a big part too. Once I finally learned that, it was so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, because your body never needs a cookie, you know, but we want it. And
Yeah.
that's where that urge is. It's that urge of wanting, of desiring, right? Of thinking that we need it, maybe. And being
Yeah.
willing to sit through that urge and also tell ourselves why we don't actually want to eat it. Because, yeah, part of you does, but part of you doesn't.
Yeah. Always. I mean, I'm always going to want more cookies. I mean, that's just how it is. I'm always going to want more. But you always would say to us, practice your thoughts. And so one of my thoughts was, that was good, but now I'm done. I was never somebody that could stop. I didn't feel like I was somebody who could stop. Like I always just, I didn't know how to do that for myself. And that was the skill that I needed to learn.
Yeah. So before, when you were this person that would eat all of the cookies and was eating for the social anxiety and all of those things, did you believe that you would be able to stop this?
I mean, I probably thought that I could, but I didn't really know what to do or how to do it. Like I thought it was a willpower thing. Like I thought maybe I don't have enough willpower. I don't have the willpower to do this. But it really has nothing to do with willpower at all. It's not a fake it till you make it or a white knuckle through everything. Maybe for a part of the time, like you can white knuckle through an urge a little bit, but it's really more about managing your thoughts and just realizing what you really want.
So when you did sign up to work with me, when you reached out for help, why did you decide to do it then?
I had a friend that was in your program, and she said it was changing her life. And at that point in my life, I had found the gym again. This was actually during the pandemic, and I had started working out with a trainer, and I just could not get the eating really 100% under control. I would go from one diet to another diet and just be like, I just need someone to tell me what to eat. It must be me. I just need someone to tell me exactly how much I'm supposed to eat and when I'm supposed to eat. But that obviously had never worked. It hadn't worked for the past however many ever times I've tried it before then. And so I started listening to the podcast actually during the pandemic, and everything you said, I was like, I would nod my head along to it. And as I was, whatever I was doing, walking or crafting or whatever it happened to be at the time. And I reached out to you at the time to do like just a quick call to see if we were a good fit for each other. And I knew right when I talked to you, I was like, I know what to do. I know what to do. And you said, just because you know what to do doesn't mean you don't need a little bit of help from somebody else. Even if you do know what to do, coaches have coaches too, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's so true for so many people is there's so much knowledge, especially people that have listened to the podcast and have read books and read articles and watched videos and done all the things that they have so much knowledge but they don't know how to apply it. And a lot of the times it's just because we can't see what we can't see. Like we can't see the obstacles that are in front of ourselves sometimes. And it takes that outside perspective looking in to point out, like, hey, Lisa, did you know that you were doing this? Hey, Lisa, you're actually not doing this. And we don't even know.
I didn't. And I didn't really know. One day we were on a coaching call and I was talking about something. I was going on a trip or something. And I was concerned about my eating. And I was saying, but I won't be here again, or but I won't do this. And it was just like, those are just excuses. They're not facts. It's just an excuse. And my brain was just like, oh my gosh, I am making excuses for myself all day with my eating every day. Like, oh, but this, oh, but this. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, we can always come up with a reason to eat food. Always. There's always something we can think of for why we can or should eat a food. But if it's not aligned with what we really want to be doing, we got to come up with the reasons why we don't want to.
Yes. And
So,
those have to be important. Those reasons have to be important.
yes. So, why do you think, because you were really committed when you were in the program. I remember you showing up, you were getting coached, you were asking the questions, like you were showing up for yourself. Why do you think that was? Why do you think you were so committed?
I had done so much on my own before, and I knew I needed that one more thing. I need one more thing to get me over this. And I had a feeling that this program was that one more thing, which is why I invested in it. I had the knowledge, I had listened to the podcast, I had all the books, I had all the everything, and then I just needed one more thing. And figuring that out and taking advantage of asking questions and feeling comfortable being able to do so, feeling comfortable on coaching calls and comfortable in the group with the other members and getting answers and being able to work through them. And the other awesome thing that I thought about the program was that I wasn't being told what to do. You just kind of guided us into our own realizations, which was important, I think, for me. And I know that's what I needed, was somebody just to give me the push to think about it on my own and figure it out on my own, but just with the help aspect.
And it's so interesting that you say that because just a moment ago you were like, just tell me what to eat, just tell me how much to eat. And that's what people say. They really want someone to just hand them the manual for how to do this step by step. And you actually don't want that. Because I could tell you exactly what to eat and exactly how much to eat, but you may not want to do that. And I might also not be including things that you want to be eating. And even with that, that's not the most important part of all this work anyway. It's so important to have the day-to-day eating in the way that you want it to be, but there's so much more to it. Besides that, we got to work on your brain. Got to work on what's happening in your mind, your thoughts, your feelings.
Yeah. And once I realized those few things, it just clicked for me. And then all of a sudden I was like, I got this. I can do this, and then I did it. And then that was proof to myself that I could. The first time I sat through an urge, well, it wasn't very fun. It's not fun to sit through an urge. I still get them. I'm not like all of a sudden, oh no, I don't ever have urges to eat a lot of food. I don't ever have urges for my brain doesn't offer me the solution. It does. When I get super stressed, or like, let's go eat a plate of nachos. Not probably going to help me really dealing with what the actual emotion is the right answer. Eating the plate of nachos isn't. Now, if I want the nachos, I can go have them in a reasonable amount, but that is not the solution.
Yeah. So when your brain does say, let's eat the plate of nachos, what do you do?
I tell myself that Food is only a solution for hunger, and it is not a solution for anything else.
What a good thought.
It's a great thought. It was one of my
Yeah.
favorites too.
Yeah. So, what would you say was the most challenging part of all of this work? Is it the urges? Was there anything else that you found to be really challenging?
I would say the urges were probably the most challenging for me, just to sit through them, because I never allow myself to do that. I was a person that don't like being uncomfortable. Nobody does, but and urges are uncomfortable. And so I just would not sit, I wouldn't sit through it. I would just eat another cookie or eat more of whatever. And dealing with urges was probably the most challenging until I actually did it and realized I could do it. And the more I did it, the quicker I was able to dismiss them. The less frequent they became, actually, too. And if they did, I was just able to, like, meh, that's just an urge, move on. Versus when I first started, it was, oh, this is an urge, and oh, this is uncomfortable, and I can't do this. And then 5 minutes later, it was over. So it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it, just to be that uncomfortable for that couple of minutes.
And it's so important, like you were saying, to be willing to be with it and to not freak out about it.
It's big. It's really big. Like, if you freak out about it, yeah, you're going to give back in again, because that's just what your body is used to it. It's what your brain has always done. Like, you're going to go back into, I call it autopilot. I'm going back in my autopilot mode. And if I do start turning towards food, I was like, oh, there's just my brain going back on autopilot and offering me the easiest solution to what it's used to doing. I have to offer myself a different answer, and it might be more difficult, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth it.
Yeah. So, what about the social anxiety? Do you still experience that?
Oh yes, very much so. But I don't need to eat to get over it. I might still, go to that. That's off definitely an option, but eating doesn't help my social anxiety. It actually probably makes it worse, because I'm still avoiding the actual discomfort of talking to people I don't know. So if I just get over that part, then it's easier to move on.
So, what do you do when you're feeling the anxiety if you're not eating?
I breathe. I just sit and I breathe for a minute. I've found meditation recently, and that has taught me a lot about breathing, and working through that is probably the thing that helps me the most. I think my thoughts. You always say, practice your thoughts. I practice my thoughts. Am I really hungry? Do I need this food? You are a capable person. You can do this.
And like you said, the food, I forget your exact quote, but the food is not the solution.
Yeah, food is only the solution for hunger.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm curious too. You talked about the other members of the group that you're with in the program. What was that like for you to speak in front of them about all of this?
Oh gosh, I was so nervous the first coaching call that I did. But the people that were in the group with me, we all were very similar to each other. And it wasn't like I didn't have to try to hide my true feelings. Sometimes I always felt like, from my friends or my family, I didn't really talk to them about my eating stuff, because I didn't feel like they would understand me. But the people in the group all understood. Everybody was like, "Yep, me too. Me too." If I'd say something, I'd be like, "Oh man, nobody feels this way." And then everybody would chime in and be like, "Yep, yep, you're not alone."
And then you'd hear the other people, and it's the same thing for you, right?
Oh yes, I got just as much out of listening to other people be coached as I did coaching myself. It was a lot, or in reading posts and things too. I got a lot out of that, because I realized I wasn't alone, and then I could also take the same advice, or would see their thought process, and maybe that would help me guide my own thought process.
Yeah. So it's not just me and you sharing ideas, it's also them sharing ideas where there's more brains in the mix, which is really nice. Even sometimes, just 2 days ago, one of my group members said something that I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. I love how you said that. I'm like, taking it, stealing it, using it now.
We do that in the teaching world too. We borrow stuff from each other all the time. So why not? You
Yeah.
there's no need to reinvent the wheel. If somebody else has already thought of something great, use it. Right?
Yeah.
It was People would post their thoughts all the time, and I would be like, "Oh, I like that one. I'm going to borrow that one. I'm going to use that one today, or that's going to get me through this dinner or this vacation or anything like that." And I knew that people would check up on me too if I asked them to. If I said, "Hey, I have this thing. Check in with me later." and they would. It was like, how did it go? Or they were very supportive.
Yeah, I love that. So you said it's been about a year since we finished. Is that right?
Yep.
So how has it been doing this work on your own since the program ended?
It's nice to have actually a person there on the other end to bounce ideas off of, and so I have a few people that I still speak with that we kind of still help each other out, which has been nice. It's a lot easier to coach myself now than it was before I had the program, so I can go back and look at all of my things or be like, what was that worksheet, or whatever that really helped me out, or this out of the other thing. I have the tools now that even if I forget them for a little while, which I have, there's been days and weeks that I had just forgot about it. I can go back and I can remind myself and be like, oh yeah, I just need to do this. I need to just focus on this again.
Yeah. And you're an imperfect human. You're going to forget some things sometimes. We're not going to be thinking perfectly. We're not going to be responding perfectly all the time. But what's great is that now you have the resources available to you right there. And it's easier for you to use them and recall them because you've had so much practice with them.
Like riding a bike, people use that analogy all the time. Like, you don't forget how, even though I didn't ride a bike for a few years, I got back on a bike and I did it again. And it didn't take me as long the second time to get to learn how to ride a bike as it did the first time. Same thing here. I just I pull out the tools and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. I can do this again. Just remind myself, practice my thoughts, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So you said that you still will feel urges sometimes, like an urge for, a plate of nachos. Would you say that your urges are the same as they were before? Are they less intense? Are they less frequent? Like, how would you compare the urges you feel now to the ones that you used to feel?
Definitely less intense and definitely less frequent. I realize that I feel better when I don't stuff my body full of food, and I don't like how I feel after I stuff my body full of food. And it's my body is worth respecting. That was another one of my favorite thoughts. And stuffing my body full of food is not respecting it at all. And I feel like it's much easier to just kind of get past that now and realize that it's just a thought. My brain is just offering me a thought about food, and I don't have to give into it.
Hmm. Yeah. And have your thoughts about food in general changed?
Yes, I also deal with other issues like food sensitivity kind of stuff, and so that gives me a little bit of extra incentive not to eat certain things, but doesn't mean that my brain doesn't want me to try it sometimes. So
Of
it's just
course.
working through those urges also, as this program has helped me with that as well.
Yeah. So what about your body where you are now? Were you wanting to lose weight in the program? Are you wanting to lose weight now? Like, tell me all the things about the body.
It wasn't really on my mind to like stop binge eating to lose weight. I was hoping that it would be a natural reaction to lose weight if I didn't eat as much food, but I stopped caring about that. Honestly, really, I'm healthy. I'm strong. I work out. I lift weights. My body can do what I want it to be able to do, and that's really the most important part to me, and not what the number says on the scale. So, yeah, it'd be nice if it was a little bit lower, but doesn't really matter. As long as I don't like go the other way again, it really doesn't matter to me. My body it is what it is, and I do the best to keep it healthy.
Love that. I love how you're thinking about your body.
That's been a process too. It's definitely been a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. How do you think you made that shift from, well, how were you thinking about it before?
I would get upset that I wasn't able to easily lose weight, or wasn't able to do this again with the whole diet mentality. They say just follow this diet and you'll lose weight. Not really how it works. And so I would get frustrated about it. I did many, many things to try to lose weight. But then when I realized that if I treat my body the way it's supposed to be treated, then obviously my body will cooperate. If I'm going to stuff it full of food, yeah, it's going to gain weight. If I make better food choices, then it's going to settle into where it wants to be.
Do you think that your relationship with yourself has changed through this process? Because your relationship with your body has changed, clearly. What about with yourself?
I trust myself more. I didn't used to trust myself as much just because I didn't think that I could, and I didn't ever prove to myself that I could. I would say that I would do something and then I would do the opposite. I'm like, I am not going to eat this bag of cookies, and then I eat the bag of cookies. I didn't trust myself. Being able to trust myself, that's an important thing. I want to trust the people that I love, and I want them to trust me. And if I can trust myself, then that makes my whole life and my relationships better too. So I trust myself way more than I did before I learned all these skills.
How did that happen? How did you go from not trusting to trusting?
I was able to prove to myself that I could. Like, I would say that I could do something, and I put my mind to it, and I did it. And I was able to trust that I could follow through on those things.
And I think it's just little by little, right? Like
Yeah.
little bits of proving to yourself that you are trustworthy.
It was not an overnight thing for sure. And there's definitely there's still moments, and ebbed and flowed. It would be great, it would be not so great, it'd be great. And there's more great now than there is not so great. And that's what I think life should be.
Yes. So how is life different for you now compared to how it was before?
I do not have to think about food all of the time. I thought about food all the time. I still think about it. I like
Of
thinking about
course, we have to think about food. If we didn't think about it, we wouldn't eat it and we'd die.
I like
So,
planning my meals, right? I mean, I like that kind of stuff. Like, I like thinking about what I'm going to eat. If I'm going out to a restaurant, I like to think about what I'm going to get. But that also helps me in my planning too. Is planning is important for me. That's a skill that I know that I need to make those decisions in advance in order to be successful. Because I am a victim of I can't think of the word. Anyway, if I get too tired, I don't want to decision fatigue. There we go.
yeah.
I am a victim of decision fatigue, and I will get too tired and not want to make any more decisions. So if my decisions are made in advance, it makes my whole life so much better. So if I can think about food on Sunday mornings when I go to the grocery store, then I don't have to think about it for the rest of the week because I have it all planned, and then I can just be done, and it doesn't have to rule my life.
I am right there with you. It just makes it so much easier. I really enjoy thinking ahead and planning ahead and decisions ahead and all of that too. It's the same thing. Like, I don't want to have to think about what I'm having for lunch. I just want to already know. And then I just got to make it and eat it and I'm good.
Yep, so much easier.
So much easier. So, what would you say to somebody else who has a history like you have and who might have doubts about whether they can be where you are now? What would you say to them?
I'd say you can do it, but you have to want to. Like, you really have to be committed to doing it. You can say, yeah, sure, this worked for Lisa. Yeah, it'll work for me. It will, but you have to put in the work to do it. Nobody else can change your brain except for yourself. You are 100% in charge of your own thoughts and your own thoughts only. And that is the main thing to realize. If you are ready and you really feel like this is something that could work for you, then just give it a try. That's kind of where I was. I said, I'm willing to try pretty much just about anything at this point, just to try to get to this last step. And it worked because I committed to it and I did the work, and that's the key to the success.
Yes. So, any other words of wisdom that you would like to share? You've already shared a lot. I love all the thoughts that you've shared. Anything else that you haven't shared already?
Believe in yourself. And if you can't believe in yourself, then maybe borrow somebody else's little bit of belief in you for a little while and just keep going. And you are important and you are worth it. And you can do it if you put your mind to it.
I love that. I love that. And borrow my belief, borrow Lisa's belief, because we both believe in you. I believe in everyone, honestly. I don't think there's a person that can't do it.
I tell my students, I believe anybody can do anything if they put their mind to it.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing everything that you've shared. So many good little nuggets. I cannot wait for everybody to hear this. It's going to be so awesome. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, Lisa. She killed it in the program and is still killing it. I just loved hearing the thoughts that she practices, how relaxed she is about eating now, and how trusting and capable she is. So awesome. She did it, and you can do it too. And if you're interested in getting my help to make it happen like she did, the next round of the Stop Binge Eating program will be opening on December 15th of 2022. So in just under 2 months from when this episode is released, you can get all the info and get on the wait list so you'll be notified as soon as it opens at coachker.com/group. And if you have any questions that aren't answered on that page, feel free to email any questions you have to info@coachker.com. All right. I hope you enjoyed listening to Lisa as much as I did, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Stop Binge Eating podcast. If you like what you heard today and you want more, go to coachker.com/free. That's COACHKIR.com/free to get some awesome free stuff to help you stop binge eating.